Welcome to Praying Through the Bible number 62, Deuteronomy 32 verses 1 through 43, a prayer that is an honest song. Warning, I'm going to be singing. To be perfectly honest, I'm not sure I want to be as perfectly honest as this song reveals. I prefer the naive hope of, I'll never forsake my Lord. Listen. Though the tempter in efforts bold, or in subtlety as of old, should say to allure my soul, I'll never forsake my Lord. I prefer Peter's kinship, who promised, even if I have to die with you, I will never deny you. Matthew 26, verse 35. That declaration is echoed in the song, I'll Be a Friend to Jesus. Listen. They tried my Lord and Master with no one to defend. Within the halls of Pilate, he stood without a friend. I'll be a friend to Jesus, my life for him I'll spend. I'll be a friend to Jesus until my years shall end. Are we better than Peter? I wonder how many have sung those songs meaningfully, including me, but forgot their full meaning and forsook their Lord and their friend. The second song of Moses is in Deuteronomy chapter 32, verses 1 through 43, and it is brutally honest, poetically reverent, historically accurate, prophetically truthful, and anchored by God's amazing grace. This prayer haunts the soul that is self-aware because it warns an unfaithful past can predict an unfaithful and forsaking future, where salvation comes ultimately by God's consistent character, not mine. In that, there is both comfort and disgust. Verse 1, which is 32 verses 1 through 5, calls heaven and earth as witnesses, declaring, the rock, his work is perfect, all his ways are just, a faithful God without bias, he is righteous and true. This perfection of God is both a warning and our only hope. Verse 2, which is 32 verses 5 through 9, decries that God's children are not his children and begs them to recall, isn't he your father and your creator? Verse 3, which is verses 10 and through 14, recalls Israel's pitiful beginning, and then afterwards, which God protected him as the pupil of his eye and hovers over his young. Then God feeds his inheritance with honey from a rock, chapter 32, verse 13. Honey from a rock. Wow. Verse 4, which is verses 15 through 18, reverses back to Israel's abandonment and provocation of God by sacrifices to demons. How depressing, they forgot the God who gave birth to you. Then verses 5 through 7, which is the rest of the chapter, describes God's vengeance, arrows, hunger, pestilence, plague, and where he will unleash on them wild beasts with fangs, chapter 32, verse 24. More retaliation follows, tempered only by God's desire to be honored. Verse 7, though, glimmers hope. The Lord will vindicate his people and have compassion on his servants when he sees that their strength is gone and no one is left, slave or free. Verse 8 concludes, God will purify his land and his people. God purifies through both vengeance and mercy. Isaac Watts wrote a line in Alas, Did My Savior Bleed that I want to focus on. Alas, and did my Savior bleed, and did my sovereign die? Would he devote that sacred head for such a worm as I? That lyric got changed. Was its brutal honesty the cause of the change to the less insulting? For such a one as I cannot imagine singing Moses' second song. But neither do I want to lie when I sing, I'll never forsake my Lord. So I sing it with the hope that only God can give. What is not naive is that my only hope against myself and my past and my future is God's honor, faithfulness, mercy, and grace. That is one song I love to sing and hope to sing eternally. What is our prayer challenge? Pray to pay closer attention to the words that we sing and not so quickly forget them once a new song is sung. Pray for honesty and confessing in song. Start praying and start singing in prayer. This has been Praying Through the Bible, number 62, Deuteronomy 32, verses 1 through 43, a prayer that is an honest song. If this has been a blessing to you and my singing hasn't been too bad, please share, please subscribe, feel free to make comments, and thank you for praying for me.